Hello and welcome to Monza, the Temple of Speed and the venue for the last race in the Controller Wars Sprint Series for Gran Turismo Sport. PlayStation Legends, which is the Sixaxis controller, leads just so dominantly with the Power A and the Game Sir. Got to have flawless races with the Sixaxis just finishing nowhere in order to beat the mighty Sixaxis. As it's the controller which is currently leading the series, we will open up with this controller for the last time on this livery. We're having all new cars and liveries next season. This is going to be a 6-lap race. We're going to have 3 sectors per lap, so there'll be 3 timing updates at the bottom of the screen. And we're off. Lap 1 of 6. So this has been an absolutely remarkable series. Couldn't have predicted that this controller, the PlayStation 3 Sixaxis, would be so incredibly dominant. As I've said before in this series, maybe it's because of the handling model of Gran Turismo Sport. Who knows? As usual, it looks absolutely planted. But we're about to get our first sector time, and we'll see if this is going to be another dominant race. It's the Power A, the Xbox One controller, which is the fastest in the first sector on the first lap. The Power A has been there or thereabouts all season, and if it can win this race, then maybe it can take the crown for this year. But not like that. That's going to be an absolute armful of time lost. Getting greedy very early on. Although, as this is the last race, there's nothing to lose. It's maximum beams now for all the controllers. But the Sixaxis is soon back on top. It really is that dominant. Second place, interestingly, the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, although it's about a second adrift. So, you know, it's great to see it up there. The PDP Aftershock Xbox 360 controller in third place. With the Xbox 360 controller from Microsoft in 4th, so the 360 controller is looking good. And running at the top 5 is the GameSir T4W PC controller. Right, start lap 2. So the GameSir T4W was the fastest car in that final sector there. Elsewhere down the order, Razer currently beating PlayStation Mobile in the alternative control methods, and Logitech G29 beating the Hori RWA in the Wheel Wars. I get a feeling that that time they're set by the PlayStation Legends team is going to come down a little bit. Yeah, it's Power A who are again putting in the fast sectors. But look at Nintendo, they've actually pulled half a second in on the Sixaxis. Really, really impressive. The Hori Junior controller, which is the Hori Wired Mini controller, we're used to seeing that up near the top. But Power A and GameSir both having a Titanic duel there. PDP dropped to 6th, Xbox drops to 7th. Everything else pretty much as you'd expect. The Logitech, could this be its day in the sun? Finally putting in a fast sector, showing us what it's made of. That's a little too much curb there. Oh no. And I think that's the end of the campaign for the Logitech G29. There was nothing to lose except, you know, a bit of face perhaps, and that's gone. While watching this, more shockingly, something happened to the Sixaxis controller, which now looks a second adrift from the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. So presumably the PlayStation 3 controllers had some sort of major incident, which is now recovering from. It's already pulled in the Nintendo Switch controller by half a second. The dominance of that controller is just incredible. Is it the game? Is it the car? Is it the controller itself? Yeah, I suppose we'll find out more next year when we've got more comparative data. Power A looking great there in second. GameSir unfortunately have gone. they're down in 8th. Oh, it's a little too much there from the Sixaxis. But it's fine. It was still fastest sector. And it's pulled up another 2.5 tenths on the Nintendo controller in first place. The controllers just being absolutely dropped. They're not in the same league as the Sixaxis, and apparently as the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, it's a controller that's not done well this season. We always say on this channel that one of the biggest boons to your setup when you're sim racing is your pedals. And with the Nintendo controller having digital switches on the shoulders, you can't really modulate the throttle properly. You can't trail brake with it. But here, Monza, the all or nothing circuit, it seems like it's really lending itself to this controller. And this is the first time we're going to get a good look at the Nintendo car this season. It's flying. In fact, it's pulling away from the Sixaxis at the moment. These are the times as we cross this line. Yeah, the Nintendo Switch Pro controller goes almost a second faster on that lap than the previous fastest lap. The Sixaxis over a second and a half adrift. This is an absolutely dominant performance from a car that really hasn't done much this year. And this also highlights how important it is to get different data from different tracks. Maybe there's a best controller for a specific track. There's also been as a best controller for a specific car. Can you tailor your performance to a controller for the right car and track? That's something we're going to have to look into in the future. We're still watching the Nintendo car because it's just pumping in fastest sector after fastest sector. Just driving away from the competition. The Power A, 3.5 seconds down. The game's 6 seconds down. Absolutely phenomenal. Speaking of games, that's just head up to 4th place. Looks like they're on the move, but 5.6 seconds down is just too much. There's only 2 more laps left after this one. There's no way, unless the Nintendo just bins it, which, with me driving it, it's likely. The game surge's not going to catch up. Probably won't even catch up with 3rd place Power A. But again, we've seen accidents happen. We saw it happen to Logitech earlier, when the Logitech was flying and moving up the order. Not the fastest lap, but it's very consistent for the Nintendo. And it looks like the gap to the PlayStation Legends car, the Sixaxis, has stabilised at 3 seconds. And what can you say? This is absolute domination. Further down the order, 10th and 11th, the Hori RWA and the Logitech G29. Could that accident have signalled doom for the Logitech wheel, which was looking for a win in the wheel category? As we'll find out at the end when we get the scores in, because of course we get points as well for fastest laps, and we get points for how consistent the controller has been over the race. That's anybody's. The alternative control method, of course, is going to be won by Razer, because the PlayStation Mobile has just been zeroing everything the entire season. That's been awful, and it won't be joining us next season because it just can't compete. We're coming up to the end of the penultimate lap now, and the Sixaxis is almost 4 seconds down. So it really is going to take a massive catastrophe from the Nintendo Switch control before anybody can even attempt to catch up. Having said that, that was one of the fastest laps from the Switch Pro controller. 143.36. The PlayStation Legends team were around a second slower on that lap. So as the sun sets over Monza, the last lap of the last race of this series, the last race of this year for this channel. It's all Nintendo. I mean, it's a PlayStation game, but it's all Nintendo. So, take from that what you will. We haven't seen the PDP car this race. This is our first look at it because it's just pumped in the fastest sector. So this is on the move. Trying to catch up with the PowerA controller. We don't have the timing split, unfortunately. We're going to do things slightly differently next year, but for now, we're probably going to return to the front at the end of this sector, see what's happening up there. Yeah, so it is the Sixaxis, which is the fastest car on track at the moment, but down in second place, 7.5 seconds adrift. That's not going to catch the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. That's just not happening. Yeah, you can see by the body language of that Aston Martin it's being overdriven like crazy. The front end there just drop into the ground as the brakes go on, but it's not enough. It can't keep up. But it's a phenomenal end to the first season of Controller Wars Gran Turismo Sport. As we cross the finish line with the Nintendo Switch Pro controller taking on us in the last race, the GameSir controller finished second, with the Sixaxis third. Fastest lap, of course, we know was the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. PDP, second fastest lap. GameSir third. So, you know, the PDP right at the end there was really on the move. The most consistent controller was a Nintendo Pro controller. PowerA and Xbox 360, so, you know, big ups to the Xbox controllers there. This is how the points fall for the racers. The Sixaxis controller at the top there, being chased by GameSir and PowerA. That's for race finishers. Fastest laps, again, it's the Sixaxis at the top, and with PowerA and Nintendo in third. PDP there making a move on the Xbox 360 controller. Most consistent controller over the season has been the Sixaxis again. The Hori wide controller, PowerA, and Nintendo Switch controller all sharing second place. So, with the overall scores, there you go, winning by just 3 points. The Sony PlayStation Sixaxis controller is the best Gran Turismo Sport controller. After the PowerA, the Nintendo Switch Pro controller jumped GameSir to get into third right at the end there in that last race. GameSir coming fourth and PDP coming in fifth. Razer is the best alternative control method and Logitech is the best wheel. Like if you like, subscribe if you want, please. Check out the Patreon if you're feeling generous, and I'll see you again. Bye bye for now.